All right, so what we have behind us is our finished drift rotary powered Formula One. That what a lot of people would call impossible. But what I can tell you is that our team over the last couple of months have put everything and every bit of knowledge into this build. But I want to take you through the processes of building this wild ride. So let's start with one of the pieces that's going to create a lot of conversation, and that's the intake. This obviously is a really external part of the car that you can see.
Brendan has done an incredible job. So it's all stainless steel. Every single one of these tubes he's cut up and made into a taper, all handmade.
You see what this genius is doing here? That just looks like a factory item. Look at it. You got 50 mil on one side and 55 on the other.
Tapered intake runners make airspeed. Airspeed makes power.
Yeah, I heard it was just to make your life difficult.
He likes doing that anyway, but that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. The 50 to 55.
What about it?
Well, you're just making his life difficult. That's the only reason.
It's more difficult if he didn't do it. We've got a very short intake because it's a Formula One engine, so that needs to rev. You've got all these linkages, so if one of them's slightly different to the others and stuff like that, then you've got this big problem with not having butterflies opening at the same time and all that sort of stuff. Oh yeah, we're creating work for ourselves, but man, it's so cool, it's not funny.
So many people chase the sound through different exhausts, the way it collects and everything through the header. However, a lot of the sound comes through injector placement, where those injectors are placed in the manifold, how high up the manifold, even so having primary injectors placed straight into the housings. As one, we get that crack response. It's like super responsive. We get a super steady idle. The other advantage is that there's no chance for the fuel to actually puddle on the manifold. The disadvantage is that the fuel is going straight into the housing, which doesn't allow it to mix with the air, which helps us be able to cool down the fuel into the engine.
Here. So now that the intake manifold is all fabricated, you can see down our trumpet. So that number 2 you see, that is actually the rotor. So it's spitting gas.
Oh yeah! Christmas from Machinery House. This is really going to speed up the process and keep this place a lot cleaner, because now we pretty much cut everything with the Milwaukee 4-inch grinder. Yep. One of the major differences between this car compared to the others is the seat, if that's what you want to call it. There's barely even a seat in this car. Remembering this is all that separates me is this tiny little bit of foam and a bit of alloy from the fuel cell that's holding like 50 litres of fuel behind me. This whole seat is going to actually just Velcro in and out. Yeah, we're going to give it a cool retro look.
Okay, sweet.
Party as
Yeah.
Well, let me just confirm the logo for the top.
Something we've never had to think about whilst building any of our projects is how to connect two halves of a car through only a few connecting points and not have the thing twist or even snap in half. This has already been machined out and grooved, so it's going to locate it perfectly into the monocoque. And then these will tie back. We have a plate that's going to come off the side here.
And so we've got this bottom mount on it, which is all joined into the sump, and it's all beast. It's like that sump plate, so that's helping that whole twist come out of it, because the problem is we've got the suspension doing this and it's mounted here, so we've got to try and stop as much twist as we can. Hey, it might not work, but even if we have a couple of foul movement in this,
but that's your engine down.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. This is not designed to do what we want it to do, but we're just trying to make it work.
Well, the thing is, we don't have a year of R&D to try and figure stuff out. Like when you build a custom car,
Our shop is actually quite small and we don't have the digital technology as some shops probably would to be able to actually go through all the strength testing, which a lot of that can be done digital now. We're really just freestyling to our own knowledge what we think is going to be strong enough, but also light enough to have this thing perform.
Today's just like an overload of billet. This here is our knuckle.
So like I've said many times, steering is #1 priority when it comes to drifting. For us to be able to machine our own billet item allows us to, one, fit this to the factory control arms, 2, be able to use and adapt our Mazda 4-stud hubs off the NAMX5. 3, be able to fit our custom Whiddett brake package.
Okay, so this is the first time that we've actually got our tie rod connected.
We've actually got steering about to work.
And now we're connected. Yes! When a plan works, a crazy plan. However, we still, of course, need to do some machining to make our rotiform wheels and pine wheels fit.
What Alec is doing here is we are machining the rotor. So Alec's got one of the rotors in the lathe now, which is going to allow, you can see where that's bottoming out. And then the hat, we're just going to machine a little bit off that. Bolt it, put our 13-inch wheels. The moment of truth, just so we can run these. No rub there, mate. So I'm going to put the factory Avon tyres on these rims. Oh my gosh!
Waiting.
I just realised, like, now I can actually fit a tyre onto this rim. I know they're not Toyos, but these are going to be pretty cool because they'll be error correct. I think that is the sickest wheel tyre combo I have fitted up on this machine, period.
Cosmetically, now being able to stand back and have a look at these wheels fitted to the car looks fully error correct, however still using a 4-stud, so the simplicity of being able to use these Mazda parts. However, I realised that full lock, now I'm going to be getting covered with debris firing straight off these front tyres.
Projectiles.
Because this hasn't got guards on it, Mike needs to cut something. I can see what's going to get cut here now.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's going to have to get cut. See, I do still have some guard clearance.
Line that up. Time to cut.
Allowing it, obviously this is with the shock at full droop,
Which is what you need to make sure, because when you're drifting, the inside wheel on full lock is usually at full droop because there's no weight on it.
We just get longer bolts and then you can just
Don't know what you guys are working on, but this is pretty cool. We got steering.
Something I love to tinker with is RC cars. So to test our steering theories, I was able to grab one of my old school error correct 80s Tamiya F1 cars with a few modifications. We had some success.
Nigel Mansell, he just comes in, clearly he's been having dinner with Mad Mike. So my last trip to Japan, I got some parts. So this was a 1990 F1 Nigel Mansell replica. What I've done here is essentially similar to what we've done here, but I give it more throw. So we changed the knuckle. So obviously the F1 RC car had frickin' 0 steering lock. So by flipping the servo upside down, putting a longer horn on it, gives it exactly what we were trying to do here with making more teeth in the rack, gives it more throw. So now the steering lock on this is a lot more steering lock, because I'm going to actually make this a 1/10 replica of this. They actually stuffed this up because 28 was Gerhard Berger, but it's Gerhard Berger's car with Nigel Mansell in it.
So there's been a lot of discussion about the tiny amount of space in my office, which is the monocoque.
It scares me every time I sit in this cockpit, and I've never had this feeling before.
You know the scariest part? Is it's actually really hard to do that in here. This is what I mean to like do the big flicks.
Even where are we going to fit the handbrake?
We're trying to figure out where to put this. Just simple reservoir.
A simple reservoir, it's just a mission because of room. I'm saying put it under the side pod. They're easy to get off.
Yeah, it's not out in the open.
And it's not the sort of thing that you're going to be bleeding every day.
Right, we're starting with the part that probably, or which Mike actually wants to see the most, is the headers.
It's like the most exciting part because the sound and look. And I'm thinking,
Oh yes. So this is the collector. This is a 5 into 1, 2 inch into 4 inch. And now I've got to clean it all up and glaze it all together and then flare it and then find out where we're going to stick it. So we'll put a wheel back on the back of it and Al and I will have a look and see where this is going to end up.
So when it comes to the exhaust manifold, this is fully exposed. So again, cosmetically, we want it to look cool. However, there's a lot of back and forth with measuring, tacking. These need to be all tune lengths. So all 5 pipes need to be exact same length to where the collector is. Also, where the collector is going to totally change the performance. Not a bad shot from over here. You can see there's still a lot to do. Now, a lot of fabrication for Brendan to be able to connect all the dots from control arms, obviously finishing all the headers. Ryan's got to come and finish all the wiring. I'm super confident that now we've got all our steering done. Obviously plumbing, all that stuff, there's still lots of little bits to do, a lot of fabrication. I think sometimes when we've got a small team, it actually helps rather than having a big team. Everyone's kind of got their own vision and we all know our skill sets. So we can kind of just give each other the freedom to be able to do that. Trying to find the advantages of the difficulties of putting a rotary into a Formula One. One of those advantages is when it comes to building the headers and the exhaust, as we don't have to work around a super tight engine bay with steering racks, power steering pumps and all that stuff. He did have to complete the rear control arms first because the exhaust does need to be able to move over those. These rear control arms, aesthetically, when you guys see them, they're just going to look like the factory item because that's what we want it to look like. However, obviously our pickup points are in totally different locations. The factory arms were not going to work. And of course, add structural integrity to the car because what came off this car was super lightweight and was not always intended as safety first.
We are doing some other little things to the arms. Put an internal tube inside here. So we're plug welding it all in. So it's going to give this area here, between that joint and that joint, this ain't going to bow. We'd rather over-engineer this car, where these guys were not about over-engineering. They were about just trying to make this the fastest possible thing on the planet. We just want to make sure we can go sideways and pack up at the end of the day and do it again the next day.
As awesome as these parts look, unfortunate for Brendan, they look exactly like the stock item.
These are the last 2 arms.
Yeah, mate.
So we don't move them.
Something that's been really cool to get our head around is this whole cantilever suspension setup in the rear. It's something that's totally unique compared to anything else that we've built, but the way we've kind of modified the parts or even flipped the parts from side to side has allowed us to come up with a perfect recipe.
I mean, people would still look at this and be like, there's freaking no way. Like, there's been some ridiculous hours as there always is on these projects, but that's why we get the luxury of building these crazy projects, is because we have the best team that are willing to put in the hours. And like this intake, for instance, there's just so much work. I've been talking about this intake, about how much work, like for well over a month now. This was a vision that Alec had, so now this is all kind of coming together.
Very complex, but man, that's cool.
So when it comes to this intake, even just the K&N base plate alone, like that's not just holding the filter. We've got to machine up posts that are going to hold the fuel rails. The fuel rails then have to hold the injectors. We then need to wire tie the injectors in, we don't want anything falling through the trumpets, through the throttle bodies, into the motor. There's all the plumbing. There's just so many little bits of detail that need to go into this, for it to work.
Trying to get this fly-by-wire working, so we've had to pull all my stuff that I did the engine room apart, put different springs in it because they were too heavy, change the leverage angles everywhere, and now we're just doing our tests, which is what this is doing.
Yeah, so it's cool to see, obviously calibrating all that, the angles, the ratios of the shaft, from how much stroke I give it on my foot to how much it opens the butterfly. But yeah, it's cool to see Brendan come in and actually give it the Mad Mike touch.
Obviously not out of the box setup, so just making sure the current draw on the half bridges which drive the actual throttle motor is all under, like within spec, so we're not putting too much load on the motor and having it trigger a fault halfway through a run or something.
Changing springs out to see what works nice, because what we're doing is watching the load, like what Ryan was just saying, and with the heavier springs it was pulling like way too much load on it. So we've gone back down, but we needed also to close.
You know, after a lot of time being spent on this intake manifold, it's really cool to see the vision from the boys all come together. Just to see what we talked about, the mechanical linkages and all that. I know it's fly-by-wire, however it looks super mechanical, it looks error correct, and it's going to match for that 80s vibe.
What are you cutting?
See.
This is going to be the best option for us to get a fuel tank in, purely because we can't get a fuel bladder in New Zealand. It's overseas and it's weeks and weeks, if not months away, so not just getting a tank in there, we're going to get other components inside there too, which is going to help us for room. This is the body, like we don't have any other room.
So now the boys have cut and measured this monocoque, so we can now design this super intricate fuel cell design.
35 litres just in that big tank in there because it's so big. We'll need many more than 35 litres.
So when the compartment I sit in front of is the only watertight part on the car, and it's also the location for the fuel tank, that means building something that not only holds the fuel, but becomes the housing for a lot of the electronic components running in this car.
This, which is our top plate, you can see, so obviously, again, 3D scanned, been able to pick up all the factory points. So this here will bolt directly to that. We have the radium pattern, which then this here will then drop in there. I have the 3 pumps all exposed before I put that in. It's got its own little surge tank built into it. We'll put another big lift pump in there, but inside here is 3 massive pumps, and then this will be dunked into another custom tank. So here's the lower part of it. So Brendan has fabbed this up. Look at that, mate. You'd think a freaking robot welded that. This here will drop into that hole. And then this is actually going to have another bolt-on flange, because this here, we're going to make a tube, which will be the same shape as this radium. And then that'll go and then be bolted to the top of that. So a super complex fuel system. This we're designing because our actual factory fuel tank in this was literally the monocoque that I'm sitting in, with just a big rubber bladder, right? And that was super brittle and just not worth the risk.
So as you can see, this is more than just a fuel cell. This also has these little brackets where we're able to put our CDI units on. It's got these spuds off the back, which is actually going to mount it into the monocoque.
There's actually a little bit of engineering behind it all. It's,
A little bit?
yeah, just a little bit, just a tiny little bit.
So right now I am just trying to plan everything out in my head, basically. Once I figure out where I want to put everything, just rope it out, get a measurement for it. That way I can take it away, start making up a loom. I'll just bring it back 100 times to test fit it.
Ryan's one of those people that ends up having to deal with a lot of carnage when it comes to changes. He's trying to preempt where everything's going to go. However, you never know what things we need to add. It could be something as simple as like a rain light or a brake light. We didn't think about that at the start. So sometimes it's so simple, but when he's already made an entire loom, this simple task becomes quite difficult.
So that's all the craziness that no one's going to see. No one's going to see your wiring.
I mean, the whole car needs to be reliable, but the wiring is literally which connects every sensor to the brain, to the Haltech. And with one wiring issue, one tiny wire of the 400 meters that are in here, yeah, we'll have a car that doesn't run. So when it comes to the dash, I've literally just made a template so we can make a carbon sheet. So we want to keep it old school. So we've got a bunch of different gauges we're going to try fit into here. Essentially at the start, we're going to make long paddle shifts that'll go off the triggers. Whether we use these, whether we shorten these, that we're not going to find out until I actually drive this thing. So whilst Ryan continues to do his stuff, Brendan and Alec are over here trying to figure out the fabrication of the plumbing.
We designed up this plate. It's doing multiple jobs. Because there's a loom running through here, there's oil line and water line running through here. So this here is essentially going underneath these. These are folding up, bolting to the block here. These pipes that are on here, this piece goes in here like that.
Yeah, and you can see what Alec has designed here for our water, these ports here where the water lines go in right next to the spark plugs. This ensures that every housing is as close as possible temperature wise. We also have our oil lines here coming in for our bearings. Super complex to what you would usually see on any of our other projects. Not to mention the 10 coil packs and a dry sump tank that needs to be made. Now, this is what I really love to watch, is how Brendan creates this artwork, which essentially looks like a city skyscrapers of tanks.
Obviously, because what the car is, we've just got to make something that's custom to it. This tank alone holds 11 litres. With this tank, we're going to have the K&N oil filter sitting in this location here, because we've also got an oil cooler and radiator here as well. Radiator overflow tank, and this is a catch can. We just got to make sure we don't have any oil issues like we did with the McLaren, and then obviously that's how that's going to lay out. And then we've got these two tanks. It's going to sit at the back here, just like you saw at the McLaren. The McLaren ones were just out further here. So this is just on board here. So this one's for air, for the shifter, this one's for oil. More and more we stick on this car, the busier and busier it gets, eh?
I don't know where to start, because I don't know where to end, but I'm about to go away for 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, this is the most awkward timing, honestly, for us to go away and do a film shoot, but it is the program. The boys respect that. It is what it is.
Look at this, bro, mate. Holy shit. Oh my God.
This has been really tricky because there's a lot of things that we've really wanted to do. There's like a dream list, and then there's like a what's actually possible in these ridiculous time frames. I feel like this project, these boys have committed to doing the dream part for everything. There's nothing we have actually compromised for time.
Well, Mikey's been away for just over a week now. The cool thing is we actually did a video call the other day, and yeah, it blew his mind. Yeah, so over the last couple of weeks, it's been pretty hectic with the hours that we've been doing. We've got trusted fellow supporters of Mike for many years now. Gareth from PPRE, him and his brother Evan is coming up. They're also bringing the dyno up too, so that's going to be pretty cool to see here. But they're going to come in and they're going to help myself and Alec just try and get what we need to get done to get this car over the line. We're very close, but we're closer to the deadline, so we just need to give that little bit extra push.
You know, they've been a part of my career since the beginning. We've built some of the world's craziest cars. For them to be able to bring the dyno up to our shop here at the Mad Lab is just going to really speed up the process. It means if there are any teething issues, we can literally make more lines. We can usually be able to get it done in a lot faster process doing it right here. Before startup, we've still got a lot of things to do. The boys need to finish mounting the PWR oil coolers and radiators. We've got finishing touches on the intake, making sure all those adjustments are right. We've got an exhaust manifold, you know, under tray has to still go on. Ryan's about 98% done with the wiring. Boys are running all the fluids. Then we've got to check for leaks, bleed all that system.
There's nothing leaking.
Yeah, and Gareth and Ryan, they're going to go through, make sure everything's calibrated with the Haltech before we fire this thing into life.
Al wants to wind it over, check the starter motor.
The starter motor sounds, it's got too much engagement in it, eh? Yeah, it's too deep. That's exactly what it sounds like.
So the boys are now at the stage where we can test the starter motor. First thing we notice is that the gear engagement is super tight. However, it's still enough that we can fire this thing into life to get it on the dyno.
That was pretty cool. Did you get it on video, bro?
Oh my God. You're right, all full of that housing then.
Come out like a power tongue out.
Yeah, we're doing.
You need more oil?
Yeah, it does. He's on the phone, bro. Look who it is.
Yeah,
Look at this. Yeah.
yeah, look at that. I'll just fly that one next time.
Yeah, I reckon. So you want to hear it or what?
Oh yeah, boy, is she alive?
She's alive.
I'll just warn the airport, this could get pretty rowdy. If anyone was resting at the airport, mate, they're now wide awake for their flight. They ain't gonna miss it.
Oh,
Damn, that's so
oh
sick.
dude, it's
Like,
fucking
is it
crazy,
what it's
eh?
called? Yeah, that is crazy.
all the hours, it was worth it, eh? Just to hear this thing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I might just go run and jump on another plane, eh? Hopefully I don't have to wait for another 3 hours.
Sweet, mate. Alright. Right, he's out, boys. He's off. Righto, see you, Rob. See you soon.
So now that you've heard, in my opinion, the best sounding motor on the planet come to life, well now it's time to get it on the dyno. However, that's a whole frickin' another story.